Due diligence, I think, will be mostly agentic driven. Outreach, I think, will be mostly agentic AI driven. Deal structuring. These are things which agentic AI can assist with a lot.
Blake is just scrolling down this inquiry list. You're still going and you're still going. I mean, this is like, you look like my inbox every morning as a founder.
300 to 400 buyers have wired and shown interest here. Now, each one of these buyers has missed out on this opportunity.
Welcome to Tech Finance. I'm your host, Sasha Orloff, repeat founder and current CEO of Puzzle, and self-professed finance nerd. On this show, we dive into the pulse of B2B fintech, from newly funded startups transforming the office of the CFO to major industry shifts, deals, and partnerships that are reshaping how we think about finance. You'll hear the most important developments, essential analysis, and of course, AI innovations. This show is brought to you by Puzzle and the Turpentine Podcast Network. Let's dive in.
Blake, great to see you again. So we chatted about a year ago on season 1 of the podcast. And for a quick reminder of the audience, Blake is the CEO of Flippa, the #1 platform to buy and sell online businesses. We had this really fun discussion about digital M&A in season 1. So I encourage you to listen because it was a great episode. But Blake sent me a sneak peek of some big news that he's launching. And you guys know, I love startups getting funded in the office of the CFO. And I love people actually using AI to solve real problems in finance. So when Blake sent me this launch video for Flippa, I was like, dude, let's get on and do this again. So Blake, welcome to the show.
Hey, Sasha, it's good to see you again. Hope all is well on your end. It's nice to be on the show.
All right. So the new thing is Lauren AI. What's the story behind Lauren AI?
Yeah, so Flip is a platform to buy and sell online businesses. And so that implies that someone can come to the platform, have a search, find what they want, and ultimately acquire it. The issue is that at any given time, not every business that you might want to acquire is available for sale. As a function of that, you get a lot of buyers coming in who don't quite find what they're looking for. So the premise behind Lauren AI is to make that search simpler and to put at the fingertips of this big buyer base a bigger collection of assets from which they can browse and then ultimately outreach to. So we'll talk about that in detail in a minute. But premise is find more businesses.
Okay, so generally this is like in the platform you buy and sell. So it just to give people a reminder and maybe myself as well. So you might have a business for sale, you might want to buy a business, you might be looking. It's this marketplace for people to buy and sell businesses.
Yes. So Flipper is analogous to other trading marketplaces where someone has something for sale, and if you want it, you can buy it. And of course, below the surface, we've built the M&A infrastructure that enables that transaction to occur. So of course, you can find the asset, you can then negotiate, you can use our inbuilt contract services with an LOI, APA, SPA, underpinned by Dropbox sign. We have reps and warranties insurance. So we have all of the M&A infrastructure you could possibly need. At any given time on the marketplace, there's between 4,500 and 6,000 assets for sale, ranging from price points as low as $10,000 for a blog or an iOS app or a YouTube channel, up to tens of millions of dollars for a thriving SaaS business, e-commerce business, or other digital asset. Of course, there's hundreds of millions of online businesses globally. And so if you come to the marketplace and do not find what you're looking for, what do you do then? Well, you presumably go to other environments, platforms and or business brokers, and you see if they've got what you're looking for. But the reality is Flippa's got a very large buyer and investor base. So in the last 24 months, there's been over 400,000 buyers join the platform. Of course, the issue with that is we've only traded just in excess of 4,000 assets over that period of time. So you're talking about a 1% conversion rate of the buyer pool. But of course, the buyer pool wants deal flow. So you've got to come up with a solution that satisfies what buyers are looking for. And so as all of these buyers come in and set mandates, we get a very, very strong sense for what they want. And that's proprietary data. We obviously have these mandates. We know where these buyers are located. We know what their capital position is, the budget they have allocated for any given deal, the business models they're seeking, the metrics that they consider important for any given business model. That proprietary data set can now be used to put in the hands of these buyers a new set of assets. And that new set of assets is what we're here to talk about today.
All right. So the upside of product market fit is this flood of people coming onto the platform going, Flippa, I want to buy something. So it sounds like this aha moment is like, all right, well, we got to balance the supply demand in this marketplace constantly. Tell us a little bit more about the moment where that came up. I mean, it's when you hear it out loud, it kind of feels a little obvious, right? Oh, AI and LLM can do this stuff, and we have this thing, and we have this imbalance. But tell us a little bit more about some of the discovery process to get to this place.
Yeah, so I think there's a few things here. So we have for every given deal a deal room, and in that deal room are X number of buyers who have expressed interest. So they've signed the non-disclosure agreement, they've posted an initial inquiry, they've looked at the data available, and we have 15 different data integrations that people can connect to. Some of your competition on there with the cloud accounting software providers, etc. And you can browse that data. Now, of course, only one buyer ends up acquiring any given asset. And so on average, there's 150 to 160 buyers for any given asset. And so, well, what do? They're a disappointed group of buyers who sought interest in an asset or looked at an asset and decided that they either wanted it but couldn't get it, or they don't want it and they go on to consider other alternatives. So the aha moment is, well, how do you replenish supply based on all of the good assets that people have clearly demonstrated intent for, but you only have one of? Now, of course, if you're Amazon and you're selling AirPods, well, you just get more AirPods and sell more of them. If you're Flippa and you're representing online businesses and trying to help as many business owners around the world achieve that exit milestone, then you've got to find another set of unique businesses which are equivalent to the ones that you have sold historically. So the aha moment is we don't have inventory that all buyers want, and we should find it.
So tell us, like, paint a picture of this. So we have this new Lauren AI feature. What was it like before? And what is it like now? What's that experience for the buyer and the seller?
Well, the critical difference is before is all available on market for sale businesses. And the now is all available not for sale businesses. And so this is analogous to the local real estate agent door knocking in a neighborhood in San Francisco and saying, I just sold your neighbor's property for X. Would you like to see buyers who are interested? Because I have great demand and a lack of supply. And I would now like to match up those buyers. And your property is a good fit for the buyers I'm representing. Would you be willing to let me rep you? This is a similar thing in the sense that we know what has sold. We know the equivalent valuations for these businesses. We've got a lot of data about them, and we can then create an equivalent matched set of opportunities through obviously that proprietary data set and a proprietary LLM. Now, the proprietary LLM, which we term internally Octopus, basically is an engine that looks for lookalike businesses and then amasses a large set of data for any given asset and then pulls together an indicative IM for the asset. Now, the asset's not for sale, but the idea is that if Sasha is looking for a specific type of asset, we can put that in front of you. We can ask you whether that is a good match, and then we can help you to directly outreach. Now, the difference between what a Rocket Reach does or a Zoom Info does or any other database service business does is they put in front of you a set of assets or a set of opportunities, and then they say, download here or take the email addresses or do whatever you want. The reality is Flippa is small business M&A. So we have the ability to collect not only a data set about the businesses themselves, but a data set about the owners of these businesses. And we're able to put in front of these buyers an outreach engine, which basically personalizes their mandate, makes them look good on paper, and then positions them as a buyer in front of their subset or their prioritized list of targets.
Can you bring this to life a little bit more? Do you have like a customer story or something that you can really kind of hammer this home and bring it to life?
Yeah. So the best way to think about this is from the context of a real deal that's live and for sale right now on the marketplace. So just an example, here's a direct-to-consumer Shopify business. It happens to be Australian-based. It's selling for just in excess of $3 million. And you can see here, there's literally 3,000 buyers who had a look at the asset. And I'm just going to jump into the deal room. And so once you jump into the deal room, you're going to get a real sense for the number of buyers that miss out on this opportunity. So you can see here on the left-hand side, these are all the buyers who have had a look, inquired, and in some cases, put forward an LOI.
Oh, this is like hundreds. If you're not watching on the screen right now, Blake is just scrolling down this inquiry list. You're still going and you're still going. I mean, this is like, you look like my inbox every morning as a founder.
300 to 400 buyers have
Whoa.
inquired and shown interest here. And each one of these has a specific profile. You can read a little bit about them. Now, each one of these buyers has missed out on this opportunity. So the key thing about Lauren AI is now every one of these buyers will be presented with a new list of prospective opportunities, which are a very, very strong match and equivalent business to this particular asset that they've had a look at. They will be presented that list, they'll be able to shortlist that list, and they'll be able to directly outreach to those prospects. So this entire service industry that is built around finding a deal for you comes to life in the form of every disappointed buyer is on every deal that they don't ultimately end up acquiring.
I mean, so AI or not, the most fun thing as founders that we do is like, just like solving problems. This brings to life how insane this is. So this person wanted to sell this business. They list it. There are hundreds. I thought it was like, oh, maybe there's like 3 or 4. And when you're talking about this, there's hundreds of people who are like, oh my God, I'm interested in doing it. What that does is, right, the buyer's only going to be able to sell to one person, as you mentioned before. But now, like, there's 399 other people who are like, hey, I am interested in an asset that looks like this. Great. So now you can like look on your platform for lookalikes, but also like what else in the world does it? So this Lauren AI thing really goes on outreach to like help balance this marketplace in a way that I don't think I understood it until you just shared your screen.
Yeah. So, our entire vision is to democratize exit and ownership for everyone. And the reality is right now, we can't achieve our vision given how many buyers miss out on any given opportunity. So the only way to satisfy the needs of the buyers is to present them other like assets.
Incredible. Like, what a perfect use of AI to solve a real problem that it's potentially solvable with software, but like would be so hard and so templated and so standard. Like, so much of M&A and buying a deal or selling a company has this really personal need and touch of what you need. Incredible. Congratulations. This is awesome to see.
Yeah, we think it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, ultimately, there are a lot of buyers and there are fewer business owners around the world who are aware of that opportunity. So we want to present that.
Yeah, aware of the opportunity, know how to sell, know how to negotiate, know what it's done. Like, this just solves so many problems along the way. It's great.
Hey, we'll get back to the conversation in a moment after a word from our sponsors. All right. One of my favorite tools that I use and we use is Notion. Notion is used by thousands of startups around the world as their connected workspace for everything from engineering specs to new hire onboarding to fundraising. Notion has a special offer for listeners. 6 months of free Notion with unlimited AI, value of over $6,000. So you can access the limitless power of AI right inside of Notion to build and scale your company and team with one tool. Get 6 months free of Notion with unlimited AI, along with custom templates when you apply for notion.com/startups/puzzle. Once again, that's notion.com/startups/puzzle. Go for it. Building a company is hard enough. You shouldn't have to second guess your numbers too. One day, an investor might ask you a question that you just can't answer. The next, you realize your books aren't as clean as you thought. Sound familiar? Puzzle is rethinking accounting from the ground up with an AI-first ledger that eliminates repetitive tasks and gives you real-time financial clarity so you can focus on running your business, not fixing spreadsheets. Accounting should work the way you do, fast, intuitive, and built for the future. Come check us out at puzzle.io.
All right, Blake. So give me some of the background. What's the origin story behind Lauren AI?
Yeah, so I mean, the story behind this is that you've got lots of buyers who don't find that what they're looking for. And I ultimately went up to the head of product and I said, well, what can we do with all of these buyers? What can we do with all of the buyers who are disappointed that they couldn't find what they're looking for? And, ultimately he and a few others said, well, in theory, we could map the entire universe of digital assets and online businesses. And I said, that sounds pretty cool, actually. Then, the next step is to figure out what are all the data points that you can use to inform that matching? And then how do you go and build the engine which goes and finds these businesses? And that's, of course, the LLM, this engine that's consistently out there looking for a direct match that is hyper specific, similar to other stuff we've seen sell, that we can then pass through and connect with a buyer. And so, we've ultimately built this engine which is mapping over 1 million businesses a week. And then it'll basically organize those businesses into cohorts, into business models, into locations, and of course, into direct relevance with other businesses that have traded on the platform historically.
So you have this intent signal, this proprietary data set, and now you have this engine going out to map lookalike businesses, really sort of allowing this insane demand for buying businesses to be able to go find other businesses like it.
This stuff is always a progression. It's iterative, right? So we already have the intent signals and we have the matching engine that drives that. But the matching engine only works on listings available for sale.
Right.
And so we know that matching engine works. We're doing 425,000 programmatic matches a week. They then get sent out via email. And we know that the open rates are ridiculously high. The click-through rates are very positive, and our business has grown as a function of that AI match. So we have clear data to suggest that the intent signals that we map and the graph neural networks that we've built work. However, the point still remains. Most buyers who come to the platform are disappointed and don't end up acquiring anything. And so now we can take that to the next level, which is, yes, we have the intent signals, but we've got to go and find all of the assets. And you've got to do that in a very efficient way. And an LLM is the only way to do that. It basically says, what do all the assets look like that are sold on Flippa today? What are all the other assets in the world that look equivalent to that? Organize them, index them, watch them, and progressively map and match them to a universe of buyers who have already shown substantial level intent for that type of business.
Love it. Love it. So how would the flow work sort of end to end? Let's pretend sort of tactically and just of like a buyer coming in to Flippa. And before Lauren AI, where they would like select a bunch of drop down filters. Now, is there like a prompt window? Like you paint a little bit of a story.
What has historically occurred is I create a buyer mandate first and foremost. So I register with the platform and I create a buyer mandate. The buyer mandate is a combination of my profile and what I want. As a result of that,
What's an example of like what I want?
my name is Sasha Orloff. I'm the CEO and founder of Puzzle. We operate in the cloud accounting space. We are looking for businesses that can either provide us an ancillary revenue stream. We are looking for businesses that can provide us an audience that we can promote our service to, or we are looking for a business that we can bolt on that is a feature that we've decided not to build ourselves and we would like to acquire instead. So that's a typical mandate. And then you will browse the marketplace. Now you will use typical search, typical filtering that we're all kind of aware of in marketplace context, eBay, Amazon, Airbnb, etc. Now, the only difference there is Flippa also has AI matching. So there's 2 graph neural networks. And as you start to browse the platform, we'll learn your intent signals and we will text message you, email you, make you aware of assets that we believe are going to be a very, very logical match. However, that still relates to on-market businesses. The next step is that I then inquire. So those on-market businesses are served up to me and I will inquire. And ultimately then, like any other M&A process, negotiation and ultimately transfer of funds and assets. The difference with Lauren AI is first and foremost, a lot of people don't know how to create a great profile and a lot of people don't know how to set a good mandate. And so Lauren will work with you and say, Sasha, I understand that you're the CEO and founder of Puzzle. Is that correct? Yes. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And you'll tell Lauren a little bit about that. Lauren will say, look, I don't think that's enough detail to stimulate the level of interest that you're looking to stimulate. I suggest the following improvements. Great. Next thing Lauren will say is, tell me what your budget is. How much money do you have to spend on an asset? How many assets are you looking for? What is the business model you would like to seek out? What are the metrics that you deem to be most important? And by the way, if you don't know the metrics that matter, here are the metrics that matter, Sasha. So pick and choose from the ones that you think are most critical to you. By the way, Sasha, do you have a type of deal structure in mind? By the way, Sasha, is there a location specifically that you would like this business to be based in geographically? So now my mandate is set. And of course, I can work with Lauren at any given time through my Flippa experience to better craft that mandate and get a better match set. Next step is Lauren will say, I've found a very specific set of businesses that are curated for you, that are a direct match to the mandate that we just set together. Now that will then represent, much like any other database service business, Zoom Info, Rocket Reach equivalents, where you will see the business name, you will see about business, you will see indicative revenue, you will see Flippa's implied valuation. Of course, we sit on tens of thousands of historicals and therefore can imply a valuation. It will be an indicative valuation. It will show you the technologies that are used as you would expect. It will show you any recent press about the business. It will show you who the business owner is, how long it's been in operation, domain authority, keywords, all the things that we believe that we've seen over the history of Flippa that you need to know enough about to ultimately determine whether this is a good target for you. Third step is shortlisting. You shortlist 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as many as you would like within that set. And then the kicker here is for $1.99 each, you can now outreach with Lauren's assistance. So Lauren will say, based on your mandate, based on what you want, based on these prospects, I am writing for you the perfect outreach email that we have seen work on our platform when buyers best solicit a prospective entrepreneur. So here it is. Feel free to edit this, but this is what I believe will work best. And you literally hit send. And so there is now a CRM sitting right within Flippa where you'll be able to track your outreach. You'll be able to track open rate. You'll be able to track anyone who now wants to work with you. Now, here's the kicker. We've circumvented ourselves because we are going to allow that business owner to enter under the marketplace and sit right within the deal room and work with Sasha directly on getting a deal done. At any given time, should you decide that Sasha is not the right buyer fit for you, despite their outreach to you, you will be able to then trigger a marketplace listing and get exposure to over 400,000 weekly active buyers. But for us, it's about saying to a buyer, we don't have everything, but we think we can find it for you. And it's about us saying to an entrepreneur, should you be on the receiving end of an inquiry from a buyer, we have validated that buyer. That buyer is a good fit for you. And we highly encourage you to have a discussion with that buyer.
This is like my mind originally was starting to think about some of my initial wow moments of Zillow in the real estate market is like, here's what houses around you seem to see like, here's what it could be. And you sort of got this like sort of hook in. But then as you're talking, I'm like, man, AI is going to really change the dating game. Like if I was walking into a bar, this is like what my brain is processing. I was like, all right, I need somebody to help me pitch. What are my best assets? What are my best qualities? Let me go in. Which is the right target in here that I think is like, my number count. I want to go a little high. I want to go a little lower. What's the right price game? Though ultimately, I guess at the end of the day, the thing that won my wife was one extra vodka tonic. M&A is a lot about relationships and trust, right? And so there's a part that we're seeing in real time. We're all living in real time where AI is replacing some of the things that humans used to do. What's your sort of view, or what do you think the reality will be in an M&A environment between what Lauren AI can do and where sort of the intuition of either a seasoned deal maker or just the human need to like facilitate the bridge will be either today and then over time?
So I still believe that relationships will be the most important aspect of achieving the deal outcome you want to achieve. However, there are a number of different workflows which are critical to the M&A process that can be better achieved with a proprietary data set, which can be farmed and is available at your fingertips, with a methodology for seeking out deals, with various different agentic experiences. So for example, due diligence, I think will be mostly agentic driven. Outreach, I think will be mostly agentic AI driven. Deal structuring, right? So Sasha, I like the look of your business. I understand you're doing $10 million trailing 12. I understand that you're very capital efficient. I understand that your unit economics are XYZ. That's really, really cool. But if you've never been part of an M&A process before, how do you know the various deal structures that are going to work in that context? How do you know how much to offer? Cash down
Sure.
versus financing versus earn out versus stability payment. How do you know? Now, then when you retort and you say, Blake, I don't like the deal structure you put forward, how do I know what all of my negotiation moves are? These are things which agentic AI can assist with a lot. And so my general view is that I still need to form a relationship with you. I need to establish credibility. I need you to believe that I'm the right fit for your business, be it as the acquirer or as an investor. However, the workflows that surround that relationship and will ultimately determine the effectiveness of that relationship, I think can be solved with a great deal of AI leverage.
Do you think the future of the world looks like kind of everybody has their own buyer agent and seller agent, and you have sort of your agent is like iterating on cycles and battle testing and negotiating with my agent, and then we get to some conclusion and some structure. But I wonder how much of the process just psychologically as humans, and maybe I'm just old, so I used to do it manually. Part of the negotiation is the back and forth. And so I wonder in this world of like where AI is like, well, we already negotiated that and like we traded this term for this term. Like I've been through, I think 13 like fundraising or transactions in venture and private equity. And it's very rarely a starting point. It's like, well, if you concede on these two, I'll concede on these two. And you can then, it's like this constant. If AI came to the exact same conclusion, I wonder how much of it is just like, I need to go through that process myself of the negotiation.
So I think the difference here is we're talking about a small business M&A. And so the level of capability and expertise that you have just alluded to, I think you said, you've been through a few different deals. So once you've gone through a number of different deals, I agree with you that you have the ability to go back and forth. You have the ability to negotiate. You have the ability to find the deal terms that are going to be a good fit for you. And that is a very natural process to go through. However, if you've never sold a business before and you've never bought a business before, which by the way is 99.9% of SMB transactions, then you need every bit of help. And every bit of help will be, hey, Sasha, start here. You don't need to end here, but start here. Now, to have that assistant by your side that you can call upon simply to understand whether you're on the right track, whether the deal terms you've set are market standard, and utilize that as an assistant. I'm not suggesting that we're going to put two agents in front of each other and have them negotiate. I suspect that they will operate as very capable analysts and assistants to the two people on the end of the deal, the selling and buying party.
It's sort of an interesting point of view. And I think a good sort of reminder of like the SMB space and the experience you gain when you do deals and deals and deals, how to negotiate. And that probably, like you said, is something most people don't do, maybe do once or twice if they're selling a business over time. Do you think that Flippa and learning AI and the future of what you're building like levels the playing field more for small buyers? Or do you think it just gives institutional investors a bigger edge, and why?
So I think institutional investors, for the most part, aren't operating at the values that Flippa represents, for the most part. And so what I think it does is levels the playing field for all of the, well, certainly the institutional investors who have come down market, but then all of the individuals, high net worth, family offices, et cetera, that are looking for accretive and or incremental and or roll-up type opportunities. And if more people can find a business that they're looking to acquire, that ultimately means that more entrepreneurs get the opportunity to exit. The biggest issue for Flippa and frankly for the buying community out there is that most small business owners don't know that they have an opportunity to exit. They don't sell. They don't know the process of selling. They don't know where they should ultimately find an exit. And they certainly, if they understand that an exit opportunity is available to them, they don't know where to go to find those buyers. So I think that it will level the playing field and ultimately give more entrepreneurs the opportunity to exit and more buyers the opportunity to find what they're looking for.
What is the average time it takes somebody who wants to sell their business on your platform to sell the business?
I think the best way to think of it is between 90 and 180 days. So clearly we see things very, very quickly, and clearly some things take a very, very long time. And because we sell so many things, but some things take a very long time, the average is not a good way of thinking about it. But I would say if I was an entrepreneur choosing Flippa to list and exit, we're far quicker than an average broker simply as a function of the scale and the liquidity available to us on the platform. 90 to 180 days is what I would think about from a mid 6-figure exit to a mid 7-figure exit.
And I'm guessing part of that process where things can potentially break down is sellers not understanding what a fair price is, right? When you build your own IKEA furniture, it's still a piece of crap furniture, but like you have a lot of pride because you built it yourself, right? But it like objectively, it's like low cost. That's why we buy it. Like I love IKEA. It supported me through lots of decades of my life. But one is like, what is a fair price? And do I rationally believe that that's a fair price? And the other one might be some red flags. Accounting is a mess. There's some like unknown bills of like, who knows what. There's this. Can AI help with either of those things? And maybe the first one's just software, frankly. How does Flippa help with those two situations? And do you think that can change with AI?
Yes. So, fair market pricing is a function of what other like assets have sold for and what buyers are willing to pay. And so in small business land, applying a complex valuation formula, like a discounted cash flow analysis or something like that, actually makes very little sense. What makes the most sense is to say, this is a direct-to-consumer Shopify business. It's been around for 3 years. It's consistently growing. It's doing $1 million turnover at a 15% net margin. And it's in the fashion sector and it's selling baby goods. Let's go and have a look at other equivalent businesses that have listed and sold. Let's assess the interest level that they've got. Let's look through all of the LOIs. Let's look through the ultimate exit prices.
Yeah.
That's a great way to think about fair market pricing and providing a valuation and ultimately pricing guidance to an entrepreneur. And Flippa does that.
And actually, an LLM is probably pretty good at parsing through LOIs and looking at terms and looking through structures in a way that would take humans just like so much damn time.
Unbelievably effective.
Right.
Fast and accurate.
Oh, that's so cool.
So that's piece one. Piece two relates to exit readiness. And so a business owner doesn't know how to pull together the information that is important to a buyer. In fact, most business owners don't understand the metrics that matter to a buyer. And so what you can do is obviously pass data and then build the IM in such a way that it is presented to a buyer the way a buyer wants information presented. And again, a small business owner doesn't know how to do that. Business brokers and M&A advisors will tend not to go down to those levels of deal making. AI is a perfect fit for that. We can pass the data that we receive from the business owner. We can also pass the data integrations themselves. So connect to Stripe, Shopify, PayPal, Wix, WooCommerce, Amazon, QBO, Xero. We do all that here at Flippa. And so we pass the data and we're able to then represent the data in such a way that it makes sense to a buyer. The buyer can then read in a functional way and in the order and sequencing that they expect it, the information that they need. So that's critical. And then, of course, due diligence. So once you ultimately decide to acquire an asset, you'll put forward an LOI. And so that LOI will then typically be subject to DD. And once it's subject to DD, you can use AI to ensure that all of the things that need to be probed about the business get probed. And I think AI is going to be pivotal through that process as well. And in short, I'm bullish. And I think the workflows are there. And so long as you've got the data, where I call bullshit, frankly, is people who are building all of these workflows, but without the proprietary data set. It's one thing to say, hey, look at my cool new company, I've built this. It's another thing to say, well, have you got tens of thousands of data records from which to inform the engine?
Love that. Okay, so we're on, whatever generation of AI that we are. And so you have this proprietary data set, you have all this like historical deals that have happened, deals that didn't happen as well. And as that continues to build and grow, that's just like such a valuable asset. LLMs are getting better at sort of reading stuff and parsing in here. What do you think the world looks like for Flippa in say 5 years time? Some outrageous amount of time that like is too far to project. But like, let's just assume AI gets insanely good at almost all of the things that we want to. What does the future of M&A look like in a human AI environment?
So I think deal making will be more efficient and quicker. I think driving competitive tension will be easier because ultimately, once you've got a buyer interested, you can then make sure that other like buyers are notified where they're a perfect fit, where they're a good match, and you can essentially announce to them that there is a deal that is about to take place. And if you take a look at it now, you can place a competitive bid. So I think the competitiveness of the M&A process will improve. And I think that that's better for entrepreneurs and those looking to exit. I think that ultimately the M&A infrastructure available to prospective buyers and sellers will ensure that anyone is capable of M&A deal making. And I'm really excited by that. I mean, ultimately, I imagine a world for Flippa 12 to 24 months from now where almost everything about our platform is configurable and infinitely is more personalized, so as that deal making experience is no longer about a search engine, no longer about filtering, and more about finding exactly what you want, putting you in front of that deal, and then giving you the tooling that enables you to do that deal without the requisite service layers that you historically had to pay a fortune for.
It's really going to drive down the cost and I think give this massive competitive advantage to small businesses everywhere who don't have a bunch of deal structure and don't have an advocate out there on their side. So I'm really excited about the launch. Thank you for sharing it. Where can people learn more?
So go to flipper.com. On the homepage, you'll see a very substantial advertisement for Lauren AI. It's called, Simple Deal Sourcing and Outreach. It's designed to be accessible for everyone. If you don't find what you want on the Flippa platform, you now have this incredible tool at your fingertips, and it's there, available for everyone, free to use, $1.99 per outreach. And we hope everyone gets the most out of it and deal making becomes easier.
I love it. Blake, thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing the news with me and the audience. I'm excited to see how it goes, and let's check back in another year or two.
Thanks, Sasha.
Cool.
Thanks for listening to Tech Finance with Puzzle and Turpentine. If you got value from this episode, please share it with anybody building or funding the future of technology. And please leave us a review wherever you're listening and tell me about what you want to hear more of. If you're looking for accounting software you'll actually love to power your company, check out puzzle.io, the modern accounting platform for the AI era. Tech Finance is part of Turpentine, the awesome podcast network behind Econ 102 with Noah Smith, Turpentine VC, Complex Systems with Patrick McKenzie, and so many more.